Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about Stargirl Season 2, Episode 8. I finally watched the episode. It was actually a pretty enjoyable episode, I have to say. Even though it didn't do what I normally love for it to do, it didn't have like the costumes, it didn't have a real true huge fight scene. I still enjoyed it for the emotional level and stuff. I gotta say, it was probably I enjoyed it so much because it was an emotional level on both two characters of the JSA. I have to say, I'm surprised they combined the solo episodes of both Beth and Rick together. I would have assumed that they would have had their own separate thing, which is what they should have done instead of jamming them both in the same episode. I mean, they got plenty of room. They only on episode 8, and I think it's only like 13 episodes this season. But yeah, so pretty much it was an emotional episode. We get a little bit more into like how Rick is feeling with him and Solomon Grundy, just him in general. Like we see him at his place, and I think it's his teacher shows up, and she gives him like some brochures to go to college and everything, which he doesn't really see himself going to college because he's not that great of a student, and plus he really doesn't believe in himself, and other people don't. But she believes in him. In comes his disgusting little uncle from last season, which I think his uncle's only appeared like in one episode last season, but he did enough to piss fans off because he's just so toxic. And he's a drunk alcoholic. He doesn't believe in Rick. He thinks Rick's like a loser. He don't think Rick's gonna be able to accomplish anything. He just tosses the brochures and scares away the lady. And we see Rick, instead of letting the brochures just fly away, he actually goes and picks them up. Like he's actually thinking, he has a chance to like improve himself and better himself. He wants to go to college and learn some stuff, so that's like really great. And then of course we see him out in the woods and he's looking for Grundy, and he just starts like screaming and everything because he shouting, and because his life is so chaotic and messed up, and he just wants to like have things better for himself, be like at peace and everything. And then so eventually Grundy does show up, and he eats a bunch of apples, and then Rick eats one. And for those that don't know, Grundy is actually voiced by the dude who's always voicing the Hulk in like live action and stuff. And so I have to say the CGI on Grundy, it's hit or miss. Sometimes it's really good, other times it's kind of like flaky looking and stuff, but it's better than last season. Last season looked terrible. And so at some point when he leaves Grundy and everything, he's heading back to his car, and then he sees a bunch of other people. And it's a bunch of hunters, and they're looking for what they believe is a bear. And he knows it's Grundy. So, he calls Pat and everybody and to help him out. So Pat and Courtney shows up. And Courtney shows up with her staff. Now, getting a little bit of her, she is still sad, moping around because the staff is still like sick and like stuff like that. And so she calls it Cosmo. That's gotta be the cutest thing ever, man. And when she does it, because she's so cute and adorable with those cheeks and that curly hair, and when she's all sad and mopey and calls it Cosmo, it's just like the cutest little thing ever. So Pat tells her, there's nothing you can do, it heals itself, it's just gonna take time and stuff like that. And so they show up, and she shows up out of costume and with the staff. Now, I still think it's the dumbest thing for her to show up in public with the cosmic staff, and people know what that is in town. Like, that's totally giving away your identity. And so they go and they look for Grundy and everything. And so when Rick, he finds Grundy, I keep saying Grundy, because first he finds like a hunter, and the hunter is hurt with his friend, and so they say there's a monster, it killed like a little girl. He finds Grundy, and then he finds a little girl, dead body in the water. And it's like one of the most disturbing scenes you will ever see. Like, she's just laying there dead, and there's blood on Grundy's hand. And then Grundy like takes off, and then he's all like, I'm gonna kill you and everything. So basically, before I get into this, So, like I've been saying all season, Rick is constantly feeding Solomon. And I'm just like, why is he doing that? I guess he feels sorry about what happened last season when he beat the snot out of him. But the whole season, he hated him except for that one scene when he almost killed him. Rick tells him that he used to have a dog and he like gave it away to somebody else. And then when he went to go visit that dog, the dog was happy because the other family was actually able to take care of him and be like a friend to the dog, which he was never able to do. I don't know if he sees Grundy as kind of like a pet or just like a lost soul, and he feels he has to take care of him because Solomon has nobody and Solomon has nobody to feed him. But I just wish they would give us more context and stuff other than just that. Because now I'm just looking at him as a pet, you know? And it's just like, I really wish they would just have more as to why he's like fully devoted to like taking care of him and stuff. Maybe he feels he can turn him around, you know, and he doesn't have to be such a monster as long as he has a friend or something like that. So when Rick goes out to try to kill Solomon, Courtney and Pat, they see the little girl eyes open and then she like disappears. It was Eclipso. So this being 4th of July and everything, when he finds Solomon, he finds him back at his place and he beats the living snot out of him again. But it doesn't really, you don't see it that long on camera because it costs too much money for CGI. But you see nice little fireworks in the background, so that was neat. But the CGI was pretty good when he tackled him, but you can still tell it was CGI. And so, like, Courtney and Pat, they try to make him stop, but Rick will not stop. And so Courtney blasts Rick with the staff. That's such a Courtney thing to do in the comic books. I'm so glad they keep that in the show. And then Rick sees that it's not Solomon, it's his uncle. And his uncle's in critical condition now. In a heat of rage, Rick shatters the hourglass. So now Courtney's down 2 members because Yolanda gave back the costume and stuff. And so now it's only her and Beth can't fight. Speaking of Beth, let's get into the Beth part of this show. This entire time, Beth thought she was talking to her parents, but she's been talking to Eclipso. Eclipso's been chasing her all around this nightmare type state. And so one thing I find very strange and peculiar, when Eclipso was taunting her, he kept talking about like, oh, you people are always like this and talking about, I thought y'all was like athletic. He was being racist this entire episode. And I gotta say, like I've been saying in like some of my Walking Dead reviews, you can be racist without having to use a racial slur. So I wish The Walking Dead would stop using slurs, because you can be racist like Calypso was without having to use a disgusting word. However, I was very shocked Eclipso was being super racist to Beth and everything. Like, he just kept hammering on to her and making her feel bad. And she was like, racist and stuff. That part was funny. But I will say this. It brings me back to what I've been saying about, like, Nancy Drew and Nick. And also the Winter Falcon when I reviewed that one episode. It's great to show awareness. It's great to show what other people are going through that don't look like you or act like you. But what I don't like when the show brings up this one time and it's completely out of context and they never bring it up again. This makes no sense for Eclipso to bring up race and constantly berate her because of the way she looks. Because throughout the entire 2 seasons of this show, nobody has ever gotten on to Beth about her race. Nobody has ever treated her differently because of her race. You know, nobody has ever called her a racist term. So it made no sense for them to bring this up all out of the blue and everything. When people make fun of Beth, it's because they think of her as this loser dork who is outside of reality and who has no friends. That is what people make fun of her about. And that's what Eclipso should have done, talking about how she has no friends, nobody wants to be around her, she's socially awkward. Bringing up race was just like strange and bizarre. But she's able to counter Eclipso and she stands up for herself, you know? And she's not gonna let him get down. She might not be the strongest one of the group, but she's the most like intelligent because she knows how to use her brain, and that's what I like about her a lot. And then when she uses the goggles, she's able to see through like his illusion and everything. And so like, and then at some point in time, after like he like goes away and stuff, I forget exactly how. I think the goggles made a like show like a shining light or something like that. I can't really remember. I've been watching way too many shows lately. 'Cause I'm trying to review all this Halloween stuff. So anyway, I think there was a midnight Dr. Mid-Nite, and he talked to her and he said that these sunglasses are very important because you can see through like Eclipso's illusion and stuff like that. And so then her mom shows up and her mom gives her a talk about when she first showed up in town about race and how people treat her differently. Again, this is great, to help build up the self-esteem of like young black people and stuff. But this came out of nowhere, like completely out of nowhere. Now, it would have made more sense if this was on Black Lightning, because they do that stuff all the time. But it just came out of complete play because nobody has ever gotten on to her about her race. And it's like when Cindy makes fun of her, when Artemis makes fun of her, they never bring up race. And if they were, it would have been interesting because both those two are mixed races and stuff. So if they really wanted to hammer the whole race thing with Beth, they should have had those two do it, but they never did. And speaking of Artemis, she is still nowhere to be found. When she hightailed it, she hightailed it. And so what make no sense is that none of the kids brought her up. They just say, how she ran off and that's about it. So who knows? But her parents the show got renewed for the third season, and the parents are gonna be main cast members of the third season. So she's gonna show back up at some point. And so, like I said before, I do like how they were not in costume because it was more, you felt more of the emotion when you see them with their faces and their street clothes and them dealing with the villain, when it was more of a personal level. It was more personal with Beth with race, and it's more personal with Rick as just being like human and stuff like that. But now Courtney is down like another member. So no telling what's going to happen. And it's a sneak peek of next episode. It was funny because Joe McHale was in this episode. And when I saw his name credit, I thought he was going to help out with the staff. No, he was just like an illusion. And it was cool to see some members of the older JSA in costume. And we're going to get to see a flashback at a funeral scene with them in this Night's episode and stuff. So all in all, even though it wasn't like as cool as that school fight, it was still an enjoyable episode. It had some nice emotion, but I need this show to improve this season. I need to know what the deal is with this whole summer school title stuff. I need to know what's the deal with like a lot of these characters and why they're truly acting the way they are. Like, and are they ever going to turn back around and turn back into heroes? I also need to see more villains in this show because so far they're not really fighting nobody. And another thing that's kind of bugging me is like they know Eclipso is out and about, and this dude can affect you from a far away distance, and he can even affect two people at one time. So why wasn't the current members of JSA minus Yolanda not looking for him? You know what I'm saying? Like they should be constantly looking for this dude, and they're not. They're just waiting for him to show up and stuff. And the family this time was not annoying. The brother wasn't annoying, annoying in the sense of he needs to stick his foot into being a superhero, kind of annoying, but he was just still being like the little brother thing and saying dumb stuff. So that was okay. Like I'm okay when he does that. I don't like it when he steps in and tries to be a hero. As for the mom, it does bug me how she knows all these secret identities. I wish they never revealed it last season. It would have been so much better for Courtney to sneak around and do the superhero thing and then get in trouble, and then Pat trying to bail her out because her mom doesn't know. And that's so much more fun when it's in the comic books because it's a secret that nobody else knows but the viewer and the reader and stuff. I have to say, Rick beating up his uncle, I don't care. I mean, it was messed up, the illusion that Eclipso caused and everything, but his uncle is such a disgusting person. I truly don't care, you know what I'm saying? Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.